least. And if you are going to multiply, it's a little bit small, but it's x minus 3, and they're multiplying that by 4x minus 5. So using a table, you put the x, and the sign in front of this 3 has to go with it in the second column or the third column. And then going down, there's the 4x minus 5. So note that each one needs the sign in front of it. Then you multiply 4x times x. X times x is x squared. Don't forget that. X times x is x squared. So x times x is x squared, and then it's 4, so 4x squared. And then we take 4x times negative 3, and that would be negative 12x. And then we do negative 5 times x, and that's just negative 5x. And then negative 5 times negative 3, and negative times a negative is positive 15. Then we write these down. Just go across 4x squared minus 12x minus 5x plus 15. If there's no sign in front of it, it's a plus. Then we combine our like terms. There was 2 of them that had an x in them. Negative 12x minus 5x is minus 17x. So our final answer would be 4x squared minus 17x plus 15. So now it's your turn to try these. 6. Pen is failing me. So this should be where the 2x goes, and then minus 7y. And then across we have 5x, and then plus 4y. You can put a plus there if you want. You don't have to. And then you'll multiply. So I want to look at this one a little bit more because there's an x and a y, which might be a little bit tricky. So 2x times 5x. You multiply the 2 times 5 together to get 10, and the x times x is x squared. Don't forget that. And then we have 2x times 4y. So again, you multiply the coefficients together, and that's 8. And then you have to multiply the x times y together. That's just xy. You can't actually multiply them together, but you write them both down. Then we have negative 7y times 5x. So again, you multiply the coefficients. That's negative 35. And then the y times x is the same as x times y. We usually write them in alphabetical order, so I'll do that. And then the last multiplication is negative 7y times 4y. The coefficients would be negative 28. And then y times y is y squared. So I've got all the parts done, and now I need to write, should have left a little more room here. Now I need to write the expression that I would have after doing that. So I'm going to type this one. So in the first box I had 10x squared. Then I had plus, because there's no sign, so that's a plus, plus 8xy. And then I had minus 35xy, and then minus 28y squared. Is there any like terms? There is. There often is. Not always. There's my like terms. So I have to combine 8 minus 35. So it's a positive 8, and then I'm subtracting 35. So it'll be negative 27 for that part. So 10x squared minus 27xy, and then minus 28y squared. There's nothing else you can do after that. You can't add any other parts together, so that would be your final answer then. So using the table method is one way to multiply binomials. We're going to do 2 more ways. The next way is multiplying them vertically. This is very similar to multiplying like 2 or 3 digit numbers together vertically. So here's an example. This one is 2x minus 5 times 3x plus 4. So you start by multiplying this number 4 by this. So 4 times 2x is 8x, and then 4 times negative 5 is minus 20. That's where that part came from. Let me do it over here the same way you would do it on paper. This one probably is easier to do on paper than typing. Okay, so again, I said I'm going to take the 4 and multiply it by this, and I'll write the answer below it. So 4 times 2x is 8x. My pen died again. See if I can switch. there we go, is 8x, and then 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Then we are going to multiply the 3x. Let me get a different color here. So I'm going to multiply the, that's the same color. I swear I picked a different color. 3x by the 2x minus 5. So 3x times 2x is 6x squared, so I'm going to write it a little ways away. And then I have 3x times negative 5 is negative 15x. It should line up with the 8x. It's a bit off. And now I'm going to go ahead and go down. So I have just the minus 20 on this side. Here, these are the parts that go together. 8x minus 15x is minus 7x. Oh, come on. Okay. And try that again. Negative 7x. And then the 6x squared doesn't get combined with anything, so it just gets written down. So you can see that they did it in several distinct parts, but you could really do it in one. Of the FOIL method, this is called. So the FOIL method is when you just write your two parentheses next to each other like you are given, generally, and then you multiply the first times the first terms together. Then the outer times the outer, that means the two that are farthest away from each other. And then the inner times the inner, which is the two closest together. And then the last times the last in each parentheses. And when you're all done, then you will be able to combine any like terms and have your solution. Let's do number 12 because there's lots of variables and numbers and stuff going on. So in number 12, the first times the first is the first, the first times the first is the first thing that you do. So in FOIL, F means the first term in the first parentheses times the first term in the second parentheses. So I need to multiply negative 7y squared times 6y. Now you can do this off to the side or in your head. I'm just going to go ahead and write that. Negative 7y squared times, I'll use the times sign, 6y. That's my first times my first multiplication. And I'll simplify that later. Now I need to take the the outer times the outer. So that means this way over here times way over here. Those need to be multiplied together. So that is going to be, let's see, that'd be a minus sign because their first term is a negative. So that would be 7y squared, that's the first term on the first set of parentheses, times the last term on the second set of parentheses is a 2. Okay, so I have the first and the outer. Now I need the inner. The inner is those two that are right close to each other. Right here. Trying to draw. It's these guys here. It's not letting me pick up the pen tool. There. Okay, so I have negative 4y times 6y. Negative 4y times 6y. And then finally, I get to do my last term times my last term. So that's negative 4y times 2. All right, now we're going to simplify each part. So the first part to simplify is this set of multiplications. Negative 7y squared times 6y. You multiply the coefficients together. That's the numbers in front. That's negative 42. And then y squared times y is y to the third power. All right. Now we're going to simplify the second multiplication. Negative 7y squared times 2. Negative 7 times 2 is negative 14. And then we just have the y squared. There's no other variable to combine this with, so we just write the y squared there. Okay, the next multiplication to do is negative 4y times 6y. Negative 4 times 6, that's 24. It's minus because there's a negative there. And then y times y is y squared. And then we have one more multiplication to do. It's negative 4y times 2. Well, 4 times 2 is 8. and then we just write the y after it. The y doesn't get multiplied in anything, but we write it down. Now you check for like terms. So let's see, we've got negative 42y cubed minus 14y squared minus 24y squared. These two are like terms because they both have a y squared in them. So I need to combine those, and when you combine them, remember that the sign in front goes with it. So we have negative 14y squared minus 24y squared. So you need to figure out what is negative 14 minus 24. And I would like this to stay on this line. I'll just go over a bit. So that would be equal to negative 36. All right, so we have negative 42y squared. Just write that down. It did not, or y to the third, that did not get combined with anything else. It's only the middle two terms that we would combine as negative 36, nope, negative 38y squared. And then we don't forget the minus 8y at the end. And now we have all of it simplified, and we have FOILed it correctly. And number 13, we're not